Phil Duke, what's up, man?
Good to be here, brother. God bless you for thank you for being here.
Indeed. How's it going?
Been blessed, man. Been working, man, and doing things and in these very challenging times. My family's good. Had one friend die from COVID. My godson had it, but he got through it. So you feel blessed to still be here, man.
So you say you were working. You've been working on some interesting stuff. And one of the things that when I talked to Richard Lawson said this, he said, I like being old school, but operating in a 21st century world.
Yes. Understood totally. You have to keep going, reinventing yourself, and not give up. I don't want to retire because I enjoy what I do. When you retire, everything retires, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if you keep going, like you have been going for years and still have it all together, that's what I want to be like you when I grow up.
I mean, for me, it is the joy. It's like even before we started shooting, this is a perfect example. For me, it's the joy of, and I'll tell Mario Van Peebles this, of the shot. You like, damn, that shot looks good. It was, so like right before we hit record, I'm sitting here and I was like, are we getting that light that's behind
right,
it?
Right.
That's what still interests me and piques my interest. It's the shot, it's that camera movement. It's the, so that's the thing for me. So if I play it back, oh, I like that. I like what we did right there. That's what still does it for me.
Yes, me too. People always ask me, what do you prefer, directing or acting? I said, I love acting, but directing, I mean, you have the ability to have a voice visually, and that's something that's wonderful. The way you see things, it gives it validity.
Right.
And so that's something I understand totally what you're saying.
When we last talked, I told you, I literally watch High Flying Bird every 3 months. I've seen that. But I watch it and I'm just watch that movement. Ooh, I like that angle. I like how, that was tight. And I like how, I just like, matter of fact, we were covering a march. We were covering the March the March for Democracy. And we were marching with the marchers. And so Anthony took a rest, I grabbed the camera. And so it was some different stuff I was trying or whatever. And that to me is what still is just so interesting that sometimes, like, it'll keep me up at night. I'll be watching stuff and I'm looking at it and like, oh, I want to try that next time we go out and shoot. I like how those colored lights were used.
Right.
I want to use that. That's the thing to me that the experiential that keeps your mind going and flowing.
It's interesting that you mentioned High Flying Bird. I think you know this, but it was shot.
Yeah.
With 5 iPhone 7 Plus.
That's why I watch it.
And when they did their dolly shots, they rolled them around in the wheel.
Right. Because the story I read, Soderbergh said that had we done a traditional track, I remember it was coming down a hallway off an elevator, and he said with the wheelchair, he curved around this way as the characters went that way. He said a traditional track, I couldn't have gotten that shot.
That's right.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's the thing. And I forgot the story. They said he shot with iPhones, and I forgot to say the size of his favorite light. I forgot the size. In the story, they said he shot all the scenes with his favorite light, right. And it was just like, and that was it. But I'm saying, but that's the curiosity, and where the satisfaction comes in. Other people may not get it and may not see it, which I think is what keeps the juices flowing and the creativity. And then it's like, ooh, new technology. Ooh, we can add this, and ooh, we can add this and this. That to me, I think is what is so interesting.
Well, it's your vision. You know what I'm saying? Your specific way of seeing life, of seeing the scene, the context. Putting that all together, in my opinion, is exciting. And of course, it takes study and craft and the rest of it, but it's worth it because when you see it on screen, that's how you imagine it, that's how you saw it, and nothing wrong with that.
When you did work at Howard University, and
I used to be the head of the Department of Radio, Television, and Film.
when you were there, and even now, do you have the sense that folks who want to direct really are locked in studying the craft?
It's okay.
I can tell by the look of your face and the laugh, you like, hell no. Because that's the difference.
Look, as you know, the craft of anything takes time, commitment, and study. The craft of it. You can take a camera and a sound system and shoot something, but is it crafted? And it reminds me of a story that a pastor friend of mine told me. He said, one Sunday, he said, in terms of the craft, nobody wants to do the craft of it. So he said, everybody who wants to go to heaven, stand up and sing hallelujah. Everybody stood up 5 minutes. Calm down, calm down. Everybody who wants to die, stand up and sing hallelujah. Nobody stood up. He said, how are you going to go to heaven if you don't die? So everyone wants to go to heaven, but the studying of the craft, as you know, you have to do it. You have to study it. It takes time to learn the beginning, middle, and end of a story, the beginning, middle, and end of a character. You know, what is a camera? What does it do?
Right.
What does a camera do?
Right.
Because camera tells stories,
right?
But nobody wants to do that.
So my niece works for me, and I have a very small, it's a Sony HD camera, and then I've got, three Canon XA25, three XF405s, three C300s, and I said, so I'm gonna get this camera for you to shoot. And so I said, do you know how to shoot the camera? She said, yes. I said, no, you don't. I said, you know how to turn it on. You know how to press record. But you know how to use that camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, have you gotten intimate with the camera? So have you studied the camera?
Studied the camera.
I said, have you grabbed the manual and literally gone through all the functions? And what does it do?
Mm-hmm.
I said, have you pushed the camera to its limits?
That's right.
I said, you know how to use the camera. And I was trying to get her to understand that just pointing and shooting. I said, that's not it. That's why when my producers, I tell them, I want you to shoot. I said, but I don't want you to shoot with I don't want you to shoot with a monitor.
Right.
So you got a monitor on top of that camera there. I tell them, I don't want you to shoot. I said, I want you to shoot looking into the eyepiece.
Yes.
And so when I was at TV, one of my producers said, she's like, why? I said, because when you shoot into the eyepiece, I said, you are seeing the subject. I said, when you shoot with that video monitor, I said, you're actually seeing what's above the monitor, to the left, the bottom, and the right. I said, but when you in that eyepiece, you're looking at it, and I said, you're actually has an emotional connection with what you're seeing. I said, so then when you go into editing, then your first thing is, man, I wish we had this shot and this shot and this shot. I said, so now if you shoot as a producer, when you now go out, you now have developed an eye for what you actually want.
Yes.
For that photog to get for you when you edit.
That's right.
And they were like, I said, I don't want you to just be a producer. I said, but you need to see it and feel it to understand how to actually be a better producer.
Yes. Well, what you're talking about is not only people seeing it, but feeling
and experiencing it. Yes.
Totally different thing.
Yep.
And that takes the craft and skill, as you say. What are you looking at? What are you feeling? If you don't feel nothing, then how do you expect me to feel it? Does that make any sense?
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Who really showed you the art of the craft who said, Bill, no, this is how you direct. This is what you look for.
I'll tell you, going to the American Film Institute when Tony Vellani was there was an incredible experience for me. But one of the people who gave me passion was Gordon Parks. Gordon Parks didn't just shoot. He knew how to tell a story emotionally. And so when she's running across the field or whatever, you felt it, right? Because he gave you the understanding of the moment visually. Not just, I mean, it wasn't, she didn't say anything. But when she ran across the field or they did something, you felt it. And that's a craft.
I think it's also, when we start talking about, again, part of this craft, people think visually, but the value of sound. Steve McQueen's 12 Years a Slave. What I love about that, and it was, and part of the reason, I guess, for me, I get it, because not only have hosting the show and doing interviews, whatever, but I went to communications high school where they taught us to value the credits after the movie.
Yes.
My teacher, Mary Waits, would make us, we had to watch the film to the end of the credits. She said, this is how the movie got made.
Yes.
So I still watch credits. I literally don't leave till the credits are over. But watching that, I loved how he used these long moments of silence, and all you heard were the crickets in the water or whatever. And it was a trip watching it because there's a natural moment of silence, but then after, you know what you pick up. And I'm watching it, and I'm literally going, damn, he made that go 15, 18, 20 seconds. And watching that movie, it's amazing how silence actually became its own character.
You are 100% right, and that's a brilliant observation. You know, when watching a movie or when you're acting, I hate the word acting because it sounds like pretending, but acting is actually becoming. After you learn the lines, I tell my students when I'm teaching acting, you fall into darkness backward. You're not quite sure where you're going, but you trust something in you. So we're in a scene together. One of the most important things is how I listen to you. It's not I'm waiting to say my next line.
Right.
But I'm listening to what you're saying and what it means to me, and I respond from that. Does that make any sense?
Well, because look, we've done multiple interviews today, and there was no agenda with any interview. So no one was pitching a movie, no one was pitching a book, no one was, and so there literally were, I have no questions. Now, I have knowledge of the subject, the person I'm talking to. I have knowledge of their background, but I literally have no idea where the interview is going.
Right.
Which means that I actually have to listen to understand where I'm going. Otherwise, it's just sort of there.
Well, listening is a rare craft these days. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's wonderful to talk to somebody that really listens to what you're saying. And sometimes before they speak, they really hear you. And that determines their response.
Right, precisely. Tone, whether it's melancholy, whether they're sad, whether they laugh, whatever, that now can change the direction of the conversation.
That's right. And when you're working in a film, it's like the other actor you're working with determines to a great extent your performance. You know, it's like I tell this story at a time. Many years ago, I was acting in this film with this new director, right? I was having trouble with the scene. And so I go up to him. He's a young director. I think it was his second film. And I said, I'm having trouble with this monologue here, you know. Can you help me out, understand it better? He looked at me and he said, make it more blue.
Make it more blue. Like sky blue, blue light.
This is like 15 years ago. I still don't know what he was talking about. Make it more
blue.
Do you know what that means?
I mean, Miles Davis kind of blue. Blue suede shoes. What? Wow.
I had no idea. I just knew I was on my own.
Now, as somebody who is a director, but you're acting, is that when your director side go, you don't know what the hell you doing?
That's right. Well, you know,
because that's not direction.
It's not direction, but a lot of directors know the camera, they know lenses, they know sound, etc., and editing. But working with actors and having, because as actors, we have to trust you.
Right.
And so that, you know, because we're vulnerable. So we need you to really guide us and help us. And when we have moments of doubt, reassurance of some kind, or putting us in a direction that makes it work for us. But to talk to somebody that has no idea what acting is, that's it's a challenging experience.
There have been a number of roles that you played in, a number of, and what's interesting, even when I look at the comedic roles you play, you don't get the comedic lines, but you end up being so serious that it ends up being funny.
Right.
Have you ever actually done just a comedy?
Unfortunately, not really, no.
See, okay, so I interviewed Courtney B. Vance.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. Courtney did all of these serious roles. And I had him on my show, I said, Courtney, when you gonna do, bruh, a comedy? And it was, he was like, he's a good idea, blah, blah. He said, it never really hasn't happened. And then when he did Office Christmas Party, oh my God. First of all, that movie is crazy. And I was so happy to see him. And so even though he played this serious guy, I was cracking up laughing. And when I saw him, there's never an opportunity to do that. Have you wanted to do that?
Well, you know, the closest I've come to that, and people laugh at that scene every time they see it, and I swear to God, I've traveled around the world, as you know, and every time I go to a country, they repeat this line, from menace to society.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course. It is one of the, look, there are people who play the game of movie lines. Bottom line, it is one of the most iconic lines in cinematic history.
And they think it's funny.
It is. but obviously it wasn't designed to be that way.
No.
It's this serious scene.
Yes.
How many times have you done shows where they said, you got to do the line?
Well, it depends on the director. You know what I'm saying? And it's like working with creative people, they give you freedom.
Now, was that written or did you come up with that?
No, it was written.
So it was written that way.
Yeah.
So when you read it, you were like, now did you refine how you did it, or the moment you read it, you knew I'm gonna play it this way?
I kind of knew, how can I say this? The character came to me,
Right.
and when I went in the room with the darkness,
Right.
and this little kid, like, I felt like, how can I say, my father, if we ever lied to him.
Right. He's like,
You know what I'm saying? I became his father.
oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
See, I know that feel because it was when you went, what time? It was like the slow, if you lie to me one more time.
That's right.
That's like they slow down. It's like they enunciate every
That's exactly right.
If you lie to me
That's right.
one
That's
more
right.
time, I'm going to slap the shit out of
That's
you.
right.
That's what that, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, I don't care what, man, I will go to YouTube and play that damn scene. You fucked up, right?
That's right. That's right.
That,
It's like, it reminds me, when, true story, man, if my sister and I were little kids, and my father and mother told us not to ride our bikes on the street, but the sidewalk, in those days, there was like a community.
yes.
So if Mrs. Johnson next door saw my sister and I riding our bike on the street, she would stand in front of us, told us to get our butts in her house in the living room and put our bikes on her porch. She would say, don't say a word. She would get on her phone and call my father at work and say, Bill, they rode the bikes on the street. My father would say, I'll be there in an hour. That was the longest hour
Precisely. Oh, I know
of
that.
our lives. Because we
Oh, you knew about to happen. My niece decided not to turn in homework for a couple of months. Now, my wife we've raised 6 of my nieces on numerous occasions.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was like, you're going to have to go to the school. Now I'm already pissed. Because see, now I got to stop what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I go to school. It's my oldest niece, Atlantis, one who worked for me. If I go to, I go to her room. I said, where's her desk? So I teach them, I'm pulling shit out the desk. It's stuffed all, all homework and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I said, how many assignments has she not turned in? So I'm done. So I'm about to leave. So I'm leaving. And they coming back from lunch, and I turn that corner, and they all lined up, and she see a bumper. And that's all I said.
Uh-huh.
See your ass at the school.
That's right.
So I know for the next 4 hours, she was.
Right.
So I go to school, pick her up. And it was literally, if you take that scene, and I'm driving, did your ass turn in your homework?
Mm-hmm.
No. You know what's going to happen when we get home, right?
That's right.
What's going to happen?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get a whip? No. I'm going to beat your ass when we get home. That's exactly what it was.
Look, man, there are consequences. But Ron, here's the thing. Today, If you spank them, that's abuse.
No.
You know, you know what I'm saying, though, right? You know they can call 911 on you now.
As the comedian Thea Vidal said, she said her daughter's like, "Mommy, I can call a cop." She said, "Bitch, you gotta get to the phone." I'll never forget Thea Vidal, comedian in Houston. She said, "Help her, you gotta get to the phone."
Get to the phone first.
She said,
I love it.
She said, "You gotta get to the phone first."
I love it. Yes.
But it is, and I know you have to be saying, I have done all these movies, I have directed, acted, and that is the one. It's crazy.
I was in Japan. I'm walking down the street. These two young boys passed by me. They turn and say, you. I say, yeah. You Bill Duke. I said, yeah. You know you don't puck up, right? They couldn't even say the word. You know you don't puck up. I laughed so hard, man.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
There are 5 movies that are on my list of all-time black cult classics that if you have not seen, you cannot come back to my show. Like literally, you cannot come back to my show. I've had people on my show, conversation come up, and I would say, "Have you seen Cooley High?" If they say no, I'm like, you are not allowed. I will snatch black cards. Car Wash is one of those 5. You're playing Abdullah.
Yes.
You playing, and you play, and that is, and so same thing. That. Why do you think Car Wash is also iconic? Why?
Well, I think one, the great Michael Schultz, great director, great human being. But at that time, you know, I don't even think I was acting, man. I was that angry.
Really?
I think.
Because, man, you would feel rage in that movie.
Well, you know, at that time.
What year was that? That was, Car Wash was?
70.
I'll look it up. Don't worry about it.
Was it? 78, 79?
I'll look it up. Keep going.
Isn't that amazing? Is that amazing that you can do that right now?
That's right.
Do you know that I had one of the first cell phones? You know how big it was?
That sucker was the size of a boulder.
You remember that?
Man, that was a brick.
I thought I was so cool.
You could hold a steel door open with that phone.
It's the truth, man.
That bad boy there was Car Wash, released October 22nd, 1976.
76.
That was 2 weeks before the presidential election. So when so that was released, so you shot that obviously before. So you said, so you were angry.
It was the context of the times, you know, there were rioting, there was anger, there was a lot of things, and I felt a lot of Abdullah, the character, and I think that's why Michael casted me. He knew me as a friend, because we were at the Negro Ensemble Company together, and when I was at NYU School of the Arts, he was there too, and I think he knew that I felt that human being, and that's why he hired me to do it, you know, but I just thought the writing in it, the directing in it, and the people in it, Antonio Fark, the Pointer Sisters, Richard Pryor scene, George Carlin, that supporting cast of people, Danny DeVito. It was kind of a conglomerate of good folks,
But you also had you also had this cultural. I mean, you had the gay folks, you had Native Americans,
right?
You had the Jewish son and the owner. You had so you had a melting pot of a movie in 1976, and I didn't realize until I saw one of the retrospectives that, because it aired on NBC, that it was too black for them. That there were more. They made Michael put more of the white characters in the TV version than was in the movie version. And they said, "No, that's too black."
Really, I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I actually saw retrospective. So if you watch the TV version, you see all these white characters that were not actually major parts in the movie.
Wow.
He did a retrospect, and Michael said, and I've been sitting down interviewing Michael. And he said, yeah, that they were like, no, that the movie was too black.
Wow.
And they had to whiten it for it to air on network television.
That's the reality. In those days, it was. I don't think people really understand the evolution of things, what we came from to where we are today, and all of the obstacles that were faced at that time. Because I think young people today just think this is the way it always was.
Mm-hmm.
When we came up, there was no internet. There was no social media. There were no real self. You remember those?
See, this here, but when the movie, when Car Wash came out, you also were, King Gets Killed, because you write about it in your book, Bill Duke, My 40-Year Career on Screen and Behind the Camera. King gets killed in ’68. This movie only comes out 8 years after King's assassinated.
That's right.
So, that's also, I think, people don't realize. So the times operating in, which also made it a lot different. You were talking about, again, those moments, and I want you to talk about, because you write about it in the book, where you talk about, the section is called The Business. Most people focus on the show, but neglect the business.
Yes.
How do you have to learn that? What was there something was there a point where you were focused on the show and not the business, and then something happened where you went, oh, hold up, I better understand the business of the business.
I came up in New York as a stage. I wrote plays and for the stage and directed my own plays, etc. Went through that whole process and became an actor in New York, NYU School of the Arts, and had a good acting career, etc. And I was always interested in directing film, but I was intimidated by the cameras, the lights, the size of the crews and everything. And so I was just like, was afraid to do all that. I was in a TV show called Palmerstown, USA.
Oh, no, say that.
Palmerstown, USA?
Yeah, it's on CBS.
Yes.
Yes.
Norman Lear.
No, I remember, I watched the show.
And Alex Haley.
Yes. No, I remember the show.
Yeah, 2 seasons. And I thought I had made it.
It was like set in the South.
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember you in overalls.
That's right, black family and white family.
No, I remember. Yes.
And I thought, hey, a TV series, da-da-da-da. After the series was canceled, I did not work for 2 years.
Wow.
And that's when I said, I think I better get over my fear of directing so I have other options. And that's when I went to the American Film Institute and started my directing training there. And so that's, that was a light bulb for me.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the point that you just made there was interesting. Tashina Arnold, I saw her speak here at an event in LA, and she said it was 10 years when Martin got canceled, where she got another sitcom. And she said, here I'm thinking, hit show, whatever. She said it was a decade between Martin and Everybody Loves Chris. She said 10 years.
10 years. Wow. You have to have, how can I say, those are not painless times, because people think rejection, or you just get over it, right? But you don't, man. They say don't take it personally, but when you're rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected,
Right.
something happens. And so to survive that, you have to have tenacity, reinvent yourself, self-worth, because what they're saying is that you're not worthy, you're not worth anything. And so you can't believe that, but I'm just simply saying it hits you. 10 years is a long time not to work, man. That's a long time.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
How did you get into this? Did it just happenstance? Was it accident? Was it how?
Let me tell you the truth about how I got my first directing job. I went to AFI and studied directing. And I was there for a couple of years. And I did a film called The Hero, and it won a couple of awards and stuff, So I had an agent, and we went around and shopped it around because I wanted to get a TV directing gig or a film directing gig, and everybody said, no, 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 no. I got depressed. It's finally a year I did that. I went away, I do transcendental meditation, went to a meditation retreat. My agent calls me and says, hey, Bill, come back. David Jacobs at Knots Landing wants to talk to you. I rush back to LA. I go over to David Jacobs' office, who was a Knots Landing producer. The meeting lasted for 5 minutes around. And I said, what is this about? Am I wasting my
5 minutes?
5 minutes. And I just told me to leave. So my agent, I said, we wasted my time. He said, oh. A week later, my agent calls me and says, Bill, David wants you to direct an episode of Knots Landing. I said, what? So we're in pre-production for 7 days, and Joel, the line producer, comes to me and says, Bill, you did a great job in pre-production, but we could tell you're going to be a great director from your reel. I said, what reel? Oh, the reel from your other shows. I said, no, I just got out of AFI. I just got. He said, wait a minute. He goes into David Jacobs' office. David Jacobs had mixed my box up with somebody else's. That's how I got my first job as a director.
Wow.
Am I lying?
Wow.
God has a sense of humor, right?
He said, what reel?
It's the worst reel. Well, of all the other shows that you directed. I said.
You like, no, might be another bill due.
That's how I got my first job as a TV director.
That is crazy.
It's a true story.
What was their response when you said, that ain't mine?
I shot the next day. They followed me around for 2 days to make sure I knew what I was doing.
Now, were you nervous the whole time? Like,
I could be fired. I mean, it was like, I knew what I was doing, but they were like,
yeah, we don't know your ass know what you're doing.
I'm just
They
saying.
followed you around like a black person by the security in
That's right.
at the mall.
That's right. Exactly right. It was,
So, how did they like the episode?
they loved it. I went back and did several episodes after that.
Wow.
David Jacobs is one of the reasons that I'm in the business. I have my career because he laughs, and he laughed so hard. He laughed so hard. It was like I made a mistake, but it's a mistake. I'm glad I made.
That is crazy.
It's the true story, man.
That is crazy. I bet they were like, let's go back and did you actually have a reel?
No, I had that one film I did.
Did they go back and watch that?
No. No, they couldn't hire another director because it was the first day of shooting.
Right.
So they had to let me do it. That means God has a sense of humor, right?
Yeah, that's funny. They got your reel mixed up with somebody else. But what would you say? TV show, stage, movie, the most absolute. So I'm gonna ask two. What was the most fun you had as an actor and a director? Doesn't matter what it was, directing or acting. The most, what project, what movie? Was it a movie? Was it TV? Was it big screen? Was it stage? Was it off Broadway? Where you just had fun?
I would say the most fun I ever had. One of the greatest people that doesn't get the credit he deserves. Miller Van Peebles ain't supposed to die a natural death on Broadway. Mm-hmm. It was an incredible cast of people. As you know, acting on stage is different from being in a film. You don't get no second takes.
Right.
You do it or you don't.
That's why I like live TV.
I'm the same.
When that red light come on, player, it's time to go.
Time to go. And directing wise, Sister Act 2 with Whoopi was great. It was great. And also Deep Cover with Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, man.
Those guys, to work with those guys, see how serious they are? They're two of the funniest people. Great sense of humor,
One of the best scenes was the sister, I cannot remember her name. She played the love interest. When they were arguing, she's like, "You're fucking up my high." Oh my God! I read later because she stopped acting because I think she has MS.
Yes.
And I saw because I was wondering what happened to her. But that I remember that because there was a guy I worked at the Austin American Statesman. I forgot his name. Was a television critic. You probably know. And he in his review, he said, "Deep Cover should have been Oscar nominated." That was.
Thank you.
That movie was no joke. I have that DVD is in my collection.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you.
The Deep Cover, that was Goldblum, Fishburne. That was intense.
I really enjoyed it. They were great to work with. The collaboration between the two of them. And they didn't give 100, they gave 1,000%. I mean, wonderful actors, but great people and talented, and they came ready. And it was a great experience.
What was the most intense that took a lot out of you to do?
Oh. When I did Hoodlum in Chicago, there was a day that we worked 28 hours straight without sleep.
Why?
Behind schedule, had to make it up.
Wow.
The studio said, you're wasting time and money. And so, and around the 26th hour, we were all exhausted, you know? And I don't know who it was. We were on a lunch break. Somebody started laughing. And you know that when you're everybody started laughing at the same time for maybe 10 minutes. Because we're just,
That's called that tired laugh.
you know what I'm saying? It was intense. It was intense.
28 hours straight.
28
See, that's the thing that, again, you talk about the business of the business. People don't see. You're the director. And when they say, Robert Townsend talked about this here when he hit 5 Heartbeats. When they said, Robert, you don't get this done, the insurance folks are taking over. So when you're directing, you ain't just floating and chilling. I mean, you got to keep this train on. And are they literally on set, like hour by hour, minute by minute, saying it costs this?
They many times they don't say it. They're just there, and their presence says it. See, people don't understand. See, directing has 2 components. The creative process. You and the writer and the producers work together for a vision. You got to translate that vision to the actors, to the crew, to the staff, everybody. Sometimes almost 100 people, right? So you have one vision going in and everybody's on the same page. The second part of directing is management. And you're managing 3 things: time, people, and money. And if you can't manage time, people, and money, no matter how great a director you are.
Right. And is that something that when you are teaching, you might have a student who is extremely creative, but they can't do that, and you say, one does not work without the other?
Well, you may make the movie, and then you should put it in your closet. Because if you don't understand distribution, marketing, and the rest of it, it's like your grandfather gave you $100,000. Well, how are you going to market it? How are you going to sell the movie? They give him his money back.
Right.
A lot of people have passion. I'm not saying anything against passion.
Right.
But passion without a plan is called frustration.
See, I tell people, I often am saying to staff, to others, the business of the business. That, sure, you can go out and shoot a great product. I mean, I have these conversations with folks all the time because, with technology, oh man, this Sony camera and the red camera and oh man, it looks so awesome. And I remember I was having this, and he was like, oh my God, look great. And I said, they gonna see it right here.
That's right.
I said, now, C300, the body is 9,000. The Canon XF405 is 3,000. And the Canon XA25 was $19.99. I said, if the XA25 was in 29.9 frame, I said, we ain't streaming in 4K. Mm-hmm. And we ain't streaming it in no 6K, 8K. I said, so why am I gonna sit here and spend a whole lot of time and money? I said, when it's gonna be 2 minutes right here.
Right.
And it was like, yeah, but it looks great. I said, yeah, but we ain't trying to sell this to a group of cinematographers.
That's right.
I said, we got to be able to eat. And a lot of people, as you're building, don't understand the business part. Before December, I couldn't afford the C300s. So my whole deal was, no, we gonna figure out how to shoot this with them XA25s. And then we got a little bit more money. That's when we bought the 4K 405s. Then we bought, now we got 5 C300. But it was on a, no, I was like, no, this is a business of the business.
That's right.
I'm not about to sit here and kill us financially to try to afford to rent one C300 or buy one C300. Hell, when I could buy 3 4Ks. But that's the business part that a lot of folk don't take the time to understand.
Well, you know, you for years have had the ability to do two things. The visual part of it, right? But like experts like yourself, what you're filming, you get people emotionally attached to it. Because no matter what they see, like you see a lot of action movies, explosions and da-da-da-da. Nobody cares about anybody who dies.
Right.
But to make people care,
Right.
for the situation. Right?
Right. See, what I try to tell folks is, you need to be able to shoot next week. I'm like, you spend all your money this week. Okay, but can you shoot next week? And then next month?
That's right.
And that's the thing that I think. So when you talk about being a director, I remember when Selma, I read a story on Selma, and the story was on all of these directors who passed the movie up. I think Spike Lee passed, Lee Daniels passed, and all these directors said, I can't make this for 25. And Ava DuVernay was like, I can make it for 25 million. She's like, oh, and so again, that was one of those things where she was like, no, we gonna figure this thing.
That's right.
And that's the piece I'm always saying, don't focus on, man, I wish we had this. I'm like, we don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's figure out how we gonna take this and make a great product.
That's right. Well, I think that minorities and particularly black folks are alchemists. They gave us guts, turned them into chitlins. And we still do that today. Mm-hmm. It's alchemy, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what you give us,
we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. My grandfather could feed 50, 60 people in a house with 2 chickens and a pot of gumbo. Everybody had a piece of meat. Now, it wasn't a large piece of meat, but you got a piece of meat.
That's right.
In your gumbo bowl.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And you will figure it out.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
I asked you earlier about comedy. What is it, you've done a lot, but what is it that you have yet to do that you really, really, really want to do? Is there a particular project? Is there something on the acting or directing that you say, I got to do this?
Well, actually, there are several things, you know. been trying to get it done for years, but it's been difficult. I want to do the Joe Louis story. People don't really know who Joe Louis really was.
And it hasn't been, there've been documentaries, but there's not, right.
He was an activist.
Oh.
Big time, people don't know that.
For black golfers?
Do you know what happened to him when he first tried to bring blacks to the golf clubs with him? Mm-hmm. That they said, well, you can come in, Joe, but not the other people. He said, no, if you don't let my friends come in, I'm gonna go to the paper. Say, okay.
Yep.
So he brought his friends in, and when they hit the balls, and the balls went to the holes, and they brought the balls out, it was covered with human feces.
Mm-hmm.
Human feces.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things he went through. And then, that he did these fights around the world and made lots of money, but he took the money and donated it to the army because he believed in the war.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was an activist, they taxed him, you know this story, they taxed him on the dollars that he gave. And that's how he went broke.
Right. So,
after
that's how you owe the government.
And I always wanted to, because I just admire him for who he was, what he did, one of the greatest fighters that ever lived.
Because because what has been created of Joe Louis, he was quiet Joe, didn't say anything, as if outside of the ring he was just this docile, meek figure.
No.
Demurred.
No.
See, that's why who's telling the story matters.
It's why who?
That's why who is telling the story matters.
Yes.
Because it's how you now frame a Joe Louis.
That's right.
Because I think if you ask the average person, it's when you see the films and he wasn't loud, he wasn't boisterous, he wasn't all of that, but there was something behind that quiet. I call that quiet inferno.
He loved us as a people. He was respectful. He had his own self-caring, but he cared about us also. So he tried to leverage his celebrity to our benefit. Mm-hmm. And when that was seen, he was cast as a, stay in your box. You're jumping out your box, Joe.
Right.
You're giving your money, just shut up. And he didn't.
Paid the price. Last question for you. I ask this of a lot of musicians, and typically the work they cite is the one least appreciated by fans. So out of all the movies you starred in or directed in, what is your favorite? That's for you, that you...
Wow. That's a hard one, man. That's...
Because there's one, every musician will say, it was this album. Didn't sell a lot, but it was this album, it was this song, it was it. So again, not it may be something we had never even saw. But for you, it meant something personal to you. It spoke to you. It was.
I think that Deep Cover. Because it talked about one of the major problems in our community, which is drugs. And the gentleman who wrote the book was a drug enforcement agent who was fired because he was dealing with what he called the mules on the street, those black folks that sold the drugs to each other on the street. And he said, well, one day, wait a minute. this is a white guy. They're not manufacturing it. They're not shipping it. They're not the... So he went to his bosses and said, hey, you know, I want to focus on the people in the office buildings and stuff that are blah, blah. They told him to shut up, mind your business, and deal with the mules. And he quit and wrote the book, and it was courageous. I just thought that was, I really wanted to tell that story because, as you know, the drugs are dumped into our community, and we're seen as the, but I wanted to talk about how they got there and so on. So it was an important topic for me.
Well, I dare say, first of all, folks should see that. They should absolutely get your book.
Can I do a shameless pitch?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have 3 things. That book. I have another book that you can get on Amazon called Works of the Invisible Man, which is my poetry book. And then there is my network that's coming out called the Unite Network. And The Journey, which is another book about life's journey. So I'm, you know, like you, man, I never want to stop working, man. I love what I do. And so don't know how much more time I have here, but I just want to keep doing what I love.
Keep creating.
It keeps you alive, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, you talk about deep cover, and I know everybody loves and that iconic line in Menace to Society. But I dare say, if they watch High Flying Bird, they invented a game on top of a game.
True story.
And that's not just in sports.
True, brother.
They invented a game on top of a game.
That's right.
That one line. But I still think my favorite scene, though, is when y'all in the office and Sonia Son mentions slavery and you like... and then and she's sitting here, and then finally she's like, get the fuck out of my office.
That's right.
I love that scene. I love that scene. When you were like, do not mention slavery in my presence. I cracked. And she was like, what? Huh? Get the fuck out of my office.
That's right, exactly right. I loved it, man.
Oh my God, that cracks me up.
That was, you know, again, working with Stephen, man, is he is a courageous director that deals with topics that are controversial, and that's why I like working with him. It's my 3rd time working with him.
Folks got to see it. I'll tell you. I love checking it out. I love it. Bill Duke, I appreciate it, my man.
God bless you, man.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for your great work that you continue to do. And sincerely, man, I mean that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.